Yo, hey everybody, welcome back to Love Means Nothing. I am your host, Chris Hasek-Watt. It's great to be back here with you. I'm just scrolling through my phone right now because this is how sad I am. Because I deleted Instagram and X off my phone, I'm now scrolling through Facebook. I also deleted LinkedIn because I feel like LinkedIn, I just fucking hate LinkedIn. Okay, it's just a bunch of how would you describe it? I described it really well the other day. It's like this orgy of positivity, which I just find to be the one of the most annoying things ever, where somebody puts out a post, everyone's like, yeah, man, oh, congratulations. That's a fantastic idea. I love it. I love it. Oh, I really respect that opinion. And then you go on X and everyone's like, you're a fucking retard. So it's completely two sides of the spectrum. Maybe somewhere in the middle would be better, actually. Anyway, I'm looking at a Burberry campaign right now, and now they're using plus size models as well. And I think they got to be doing this because they know it's going to spark a reaction because there are so many comments. Some people love it, and some people are just like, stop showing fat people. That's not aspirational. But then other people are saying, hey, that's real life. That's what most people look like in America. And it's true, most people look like that in America because there is so much processed food in America because they load sugar in everything. Even if you eat bread in America, it's probably got fucking 10 grams of sugar a slice of bread. Whereas when you go to Europe, they stuff their face with carbs, but it's not processed. There's not sugar in everything, and they all stay relatively slim. At least the old Europe did. Europe is changing, everybody. Europe has opened their borders to Africa, to the Middle East, to third world countries, and a lot of these people, they don't like America. Or they don't like America, but they don't like Europe either. They don't respect Western civilized traditions, and the UK is done. The UK is over, finito. Give it 20 years and that country could be run by Sharia law. I'm telling you. And it sounds a little bit extreme. And yeah, sure, it is a little bit extreme, but it's true. We're going through a new election here in Canada, and holy shit. The liberals that have decimated this country over the last 10 years under Trudeau, they got a new leader, Mark Carney, former banker, and he ran the Bank of Canada, ran the Bank of England as well, and pretty polished guy. But he also has these the same globalist woke views. Net zero, thinks that global warming is the biggest crisis of our in today's day and age, and he's basically Trudeau 2.0. But the people that vote for him are kind of like, there's so many liberal type people in Canada where they all work in the public sector. Okay. They all kind of have these like views that anything right of center is extreme. Boomers, people that rely on legacy media, so they watch basically CTV, CBC, and CNN, but they're not on X, they're not on anything to get alternative viewpoints. Okay. So they trust the media like it was like 30, 40, 50 years ago, where it was probably a lot more bipartisan, a lot more neutral. But the economics of media has changed with the internet, with everything like that. So you got to get views, you got to get clicks, you got to pick one side or the other. Nobody wants a neutral view. They want a view that reinforces their own opinions. So boomers are just, and it's quite selfish because they're voting. The deficits are extreme. They're going to be boomers, of maybe 20, 10, 20 years, maybe 25 years of life expectancy left. And then their grandkids have 90 years of life expectancy left. And guess who's going to have to front the bill? Who's going to have to pay it for all of this debt? It's basically like, if you actually think under a household, it's like racking up your credit card debts, okay? Just before you're about to die, and then saying, don't worry, grandkids, you can handle this. You can pay that debt off. And that's what we're doing in Canada. The polls are neck and neck. I think Carney has a slight lead. Obviously, I'm hoping Conservatives. The NDP in Canada are just, it's a fucking joke. Okay. Jagmeet Singh, completely destroyed his party by, my wife is calling me right now. I just denied it. Hopefully it's nothing important. If she calls again, I'm going to have to take a little bit of a pause here. He could have called an election when Trudeau was a leader. They could have actually won at least the same number of seats back, probably. Instead, he wanted his pension, so he didn't call an election. And now they're about to get decimated as well. I've been using the word decimated a lot, but you know who the NDP voters are. They're the ones that are carrying their pro-Palestine flags. They're the ones with the dyed hair. They're dyeing their own. They're dyeing their hair. They're dyeing their freaking the tail of their dog's hair pink now. If you have a foot in a bike lane, they're the ones that beep their bike horns at you and then yell profanities at you as they speed away. They're the ones with the signs up. It's funny, whenever you see an NDP sign, it's always in front of a shithole house, someone that doesn't take care of their front yard. These people are bumps. Okay, they're ignorant, they're naive, they're uneducated, they don't understand how the world works. And unfortunately, we live in NDP country here in Vancouver, where I live. And it's funny because when people see, like, in America, when you look at, like, oh, the cities, they vote Democrat, they vote NDP, and they're around the universities, they're the smart people. Yeah, well, it's also around where the largest amount of homeless people live. It's where the largest amount of people that rely on government handouts live. So the cities, okay, yeah, there are schools around, okay, and there are, some people that carry all the weight, but there's a lot of people going for the ride in cities. There's a lot of renters, just a lot of people that don't provide anything. Where if you go to rural towns, small communities, there a lot of business owners. Everyone has to work hard. Everyone has, family values. Not everyone, but most people do. So I would say that's what skews the votes in cities. Okay, moving on. So that's kind of my political rant. Let's move on to tennis. Okay, well, first off, it's a great time in sports right now. It's a great effing. I'm not going to say the F word anymore. It's a great effing time in sports right now. We got first round of the NBA playoffs. We got first round of the NHL playoffs. We got a lot of tennis tournaments going on. We got golf going on. I get home, I crack open a beer, and I'll turn the TV on, and I just watch sports till 11 p.m., and then I go to sleep. Anyway, so I was watching the Oilers LA Kings game last night, and the anthem so the anthem of "O Canada" went on, and they chose like the worst singer ever. And I'm like, you know what, this is kind of like a slight to Canada. They chose someone that can't sing. But I'm like, and then they're going to step up and have someone like with an amazing voice, probably someone famous, sing the American anthem. But I was wrong. Instead, they had a amateur harmonica group play. I couldn't even make out that it was going to the tune of the US anthem. Like, some of the players on the ice were actually laughing. It was hysterical. It was just so, oh my God. I'm never going to forget that. I will always know where I was when I watched or listened to the harmonica group play the national anthem. Weekend activities. I'm checking my notes out. So, oh fuck, should I get into this? Okay, let's just talk about this quickly before we get into tennis. Okay, but reconciliation. It's a business here in Canada. That essentially is that is First Nations, Indigenous groups. Okay, and this is actually, if you actually think about it, okay, this is based in 100% fact. The more that they get people on their side, where groups, individuals feel guilty about quote unquote stealing land from them, the more they are going to get back in return. Okay, through subsidies, through land donations. I don't know, that's not the right word. Et cetera, et cetera. Okay, just through basically tons of money filters through First Nations group. Also, the First Nations Mafia, where they are a stakeholder of any major infrastructure project right now because they're able to shut anything down. Again, it's a business. Okay, if they didn't make every group, every company, every individual feel so guilty about what happened in the past and that we'll need to right our wrongs, then they wouldn't get these massive financial stakes in everything. Anyway, so I go to our kids. He's a year and a half. They call it a soccer practice. It's them running from tree to tree and trying to like not get distracted by the playground. They sit in a circle to start. Okay, I'm just there chilling, like drinking a coffee. My kids in the circle, and they say, "Okay, we're going to start by singing a few songs." And I thought, "Okay, this is great. This is so nice." First thing they sing is like, "We thank the Musqueams," and it's basically like thanking the First Nations for allowing us on the stolen land. No, bitch. This is Canada. We fucking conquered this land. And that's how the world works. If you go to any country in the world, it was conquered at one time. Why are we so different here? Okay, I'm done with my rants. Let's move on to tennis. I gotta pull up the draws. I wasn't prepared with the draws. We got Barcelona Open. We had the Munich Open. Oh man, I gotta go back in my calendar because it only shows the current ones. Okay, so what month are we in? We are in. Okay, should we start with? Let's start with Munich. Okay, two things regarding Munich. Okay, one is in my last pod, I said, okay, I talked about Zverev and I talked about Djokovic, and I said I'm not worried about Zverev. I am worried about Djokovic. Okay, I also said I wouldn't be surprised if Zverev comes back and wins the Munich Open, which is exactly what he did. Kudos, Chris Hasek-Watt. On the other hand, I also said that North Americans suck on red clay. They're pathetic. They don't know what they're doing. And I was kind of wrong on that because Ben Shelton made the finals. So I was right and I was wrong. I could admit error. Let's look at Shelton's draw. He beat Cerundolo in the semis. That's a good win. He's a solid player on clay. Not the best. He beat Darduri. He's Italian. That's not how you pronounce it. He's not Punjab. Darduri. He beat him in the quarters. That's pretty easy. Let's be honest. He also beat Van de Schuntsoap. I can never pronounce his name. That guy's always hit and miss. He wins the big matches, then he loses some matches too. He's kind of like he's better on hard court. He's not good on clay. He's Dutch. I don't know if they have much clay there. Probably do. It's Europe. Anyway, that's my nanny in the background they're using the carburetor. So if you hear that, I gotta tell her to shut up. Okay, and then he beat Gojo 7-6 in the first round. So he had a pretty easy draw, to be honest. And then he did lose to Zverev 6-4, 6-2. Either way, so I'm not saying North Americans are now fantastic on clay, but pretty good showing. Aliassime lost again, first round to an Argentinian named Navone. I think now he's lost 4 of his last 5 matches. I've been hard on Auger Aliassime for the last, since I started this pod 2 years ago. And come on, at this point, people have to admit, way overrated. It's funny because a lot of even the players and the commentators and the coaches, like they were fooled by him when he was 17, 18. Everyone just assumed he was going to be like a future number one. Kyrgios always said, wow, this guy is going to be a top 3 player. Tsitsipas said he's unbeatable at one point. There are even guys like McEnroe saying, he's supposed to be like top 5. He said also Shapo was going to be top 5. The Canadians had all this potential. All these people thought they were going to be so good, but they missed something. Because I don't think Auger Aliassime is like, I've talked about it before. I just don't think he's that smart on court. I think he's got the athleticism. I think he's relatively athletic. But I don't think he has the court smarts, the know-how, everything like that. Kind of like the Gretzky. You skate to where the puck is going. He doesn't understand that concept. Shapo lost first round, retired as well to a lucky loser. So a bad showing for Canadians. Anyway, that puts Zverev back to number 2 in the world, up a few points on Alcaraz. He needed that. Now he'll gain some confidence. Let's see how he does in the next few tournaments going into Roland Garros. And he's going to be one of the favorites for sure. So big win for him. Okay, let's go to Barcelona. This is what surprised some people. Pulling up the draw. Singles. So, okay. Why is this so slow? So Holger Rune won this tournament. He did the tradition where he went and jumped in the pool afterwards. It's a good tradition. Nadal has won this tournament 11 times. Remember, there was a time when Nadal used to win every freaking clay court tournament for a period of like, it felt like 10 to 15 years. Like if he played it, he was going to win it. It's just insane, his record. And people are talking about, oh, Alcaraz might be better than Nadal, on this and that. Like Alcaraz has maybe won Barcelona once, has he? I don't even know. Like if you start losing even like once or twice in your prime, you will never catch Nadal's records. Nadal was just an absolute animal on clay. Rune beat him 7-6, 6-2. Looks strong. Kind of went back and forth. Rune stayed headstrong in the first set. He lost a few set points earlier on. I think at 5-4, 45, or 15-40. He had a couple opportunities. He managed to squeak that out. Then he cleaned up the second set, 6-2. There's talk about Alcaraz and his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero. How Alcaraz won Monte Carlo when Ferrero wasn't there. Ferrero has been a huge asset for him, no question. But there is some chatter about maybe it's time for Alcaraz to move on. Some people think he kind of holds him down a little bit in too tight of a box where he needs to let Alcaraz be free. I don't know if I fully agree with that. There's a lot of young players that got to, number one in the world or top 5 in the world. And then they go and just like walk away from their previous coach because they think they've moved on. And a lot of the time they fall off. So it's really hit and miss. I can't say that there's a trend, whether it's good to stay with your lifetime coach or move away, because it works for some people. It doesn't work for others. Aliassime, on the other hand, I do think he has got to change teams. He has got to change teams. Okay. This is like in the morning. I'm getting all these text messages. I'm getting distracted. Alcaraz beat Fils in the semifinals 6-2, 6-4. That was a good win because Arthur Fils is playing very well. I said last year, watch out for Fils. He's going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be a top 5 player because I think he's a little small, doesn't have the serve, doesn't have the weapons, but he's pretty good. And I like the energy he brings on court. I don't think his opponents love him. I don't know if he's the most popular guy in the locker room. He's got a bit of swag, but I think that's good. I think it's good. Rune beat Hachinov 3-2 in the semis, just like walked through him. Beat Rude in the quarters 4-2. Just Rune was playing pretty well. Who else did he beat? Baez. Okay, whatever. It's crazy that Baez is still like seeded. He's kind of like a Schwartzman plus like 1 inch. Yeah. So Rune won that big win for him. That puts him in the top 10 again. After Indian Wells, when I watched him in the finals, I kind of was shitting on him a little bit. I said, listen, like I don't think, he's a great player, but I don't think he has the weapons to take out these top players. Every surface is different. On a faster court in Indian Wells, I know Indian Wells is typically gritty and slow, but they sped them up this year for sure to make them more like the US Open. And when you're playing with playing against a big lefty server, it makes it pretty tough. So obviously the court surfaces change everything drastically. Anyway, Rune is on top of his game and went in for the big win. And I think for him too, like from a headspace, because he grew up with Alcaraz. They were playing like junior double slams together. Like they were neck and neck. And then Alcaraz absolutely took off on him, right? And left Rune in his dust. So I think for Rune to come out and beat him in the finals of an ATP 500, it's got to be huge for his confidence. I think Rune always felt like I should be there with him. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think he necessarily should be. Alcaraz is definitely more talent, but I think he doesn't feel like there should be such a separation. Moving on. Let's go to Madrid. So scores, Madrid, draws. They're still in qualies right now. So Zverev looks like he's got an okay draw. Play Fokina third round. When I pull up the draw like this, it's hard to read. I need to like download the PDF. Here we go. Okay. Zverev's quarter. He's got a tough draw. He's got Fokina in the third round. He's got Phil's after that. Then Mensic's in there. Rublev's in there. That's a tough quarter. That's probably the toughest quarter of the draw, even though I haven't looked at the other ones, but I got to assume. The next quarter, you got Fritz. Good, number 3 seed. But again, it's red clay, so not take him down to where he should be, probably a 10 seed on red clay, not 3. Herkats is in there. He sucks these days. So and then Rude is there. You got Medvedev, you got Rune. So Rune has a pretty decent draw. He's got a couple tough players, but he's got Morazan potential or Kaboli second round. Both of those guys can bowl. That's a good first round. That's a good first round match. Kaboli, Morazan. Kaboli's kind of fallen off a little bit. Flavio's a very sexy name. Jack Draper going down to the next quarter. Draper, not sure what he's like on red clay. He's overall a pretty good player though. So, but it is slow. Hatchinoff, Berrettini. Djokovic is in that quarter. Djokovic has a good draw. He'll play Tiafoe maybe in the 4th round, and then Draper or Hatchinoff in the quarters. Can't ask for a better draw than that in an ATP 1000, but you never know with Alcaraz these days. I mean, you never know with Djokovic these days. And then moving on to the last quarter, you got Alcaraz. He'll have to play Lehecka in his second round, then Dimitrov. That shouldn't be an issue. Lehecka on fast hard court is dangerous. On clay, not so much. Then he'll play de Minaur, I think, in his 4th round. And de Minaur is playing very well. Like I said, he should not have been the guy wearing the APC collab. It should have been Musetti. And like I said in my last pod, I got a lot of positive reinforcement. Wilson should be going after Musetti. Hopefully it's a short-term agreement with ASICS. Okay. Moving on, going through my notes here. I'm on camera. I had my phone in front of my face for the last 10 minutes looking at my notes. So highly recommend you do not watch this video. That was stupid. Damn, Chris, you idiot. Okay. Oh, and then a guy at Munich yelled out in one of his matches to Zverev, yelled out, some fucking stupid fan kept yelling out that Zverev's a wife beater. Totally inappropriate. Come on, guys. He's not a wife beater. Just a girlfriend beater. Joking, I don't think he did it. Anyway, he got kicked out of the stands. Ostepenko. So a year ago, I always was saying, when everyone hated Ostepenko, the problem is Ostepenko, she gets all this publicity in Australia because it's right after the holidays. She likes her turkey. Okay, she hibernates for a month. She goes back to her homeland in Eastern Europe. I forget what country she's from right now, and they eat. And if you know any grandmas that are Eastern European, they feed you cookie after cookie. They feed you food after, and if you don't eat the food, they get really upset with you. I have a Czech background, and whenever I go and visit family in former Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, they feed you so much you want to blow up. Okay, so this is what's happening to Ostepenko. She shows up in Australia. Okay, she just basically has been eating the last 3 weeks and she needs to get rid of it. So I don't blame her. Now at this point of the year, she's been working hard. She's been in the gym. She's back to her normal weight, her fitness, and she's killing it. A year ago, like I said, I really loved Ostepenko. Then, like half a year ago, I was kind of off of her because she just kept missing everything and it was boring to watch. But now I'm kind of back on her. And when she won the Porsche, when she won this tournament, she looking pretty cute driving the Porsche. She had that smile on her face. None of her opponents like her. When she goes and shakes everyone's hand, they don't even look her in the eyes. Anyway, she goes and she beats. How do you fucking say it? I always say Swiatek, but Swiatek or whatever. It's pathetic that I can't pronounce her name. I'm just gonna go with Swiatek. Okay, Iga. Let's go with Iga. She killed her. Or maybe she didn't kill her, but she beat her in the semifinals. She is now 6-0 against Iga. I'm going to repeat that if you don't know that stat. She is 6-0 against Iga. I don't think Iga has made the finals of a tournament since winning Roland Garros. I put it back to my pod when I said that she's the most unlikable number one in WTA history. Since that moment, I think she watched it. She maybe felt a little self-conscious about it, so I'm sorry about that. But she can't play tennis anymore. So is it because of me? Maybe, but maybe not. And if it is, I apologize. It's true what I said. I only speak facts, but I still apologize. Then Ostepenko goes and backs that up by beating Sabalenka 4-2 in the final. Again, Sabalenka, red clay, not her best surface, but still, she's by far the best player in the world. When Ostepenko beat Iga, people were like, the commentators were asking, hey, like, beating her on clay, and that's a pretty big deal. She's great on clay. And Ostepenko said, hey, wait, like, yeah, she's good on clay, but I'm pretty good on clay too. I've won Roland Garros as well, if you forgot. Man, great confidence. Good confidence. Going through my notes. Harrian Dart, a English tennis player. I don't know if this was in Billie Jean Cup. She was playing her opponent from some country that they don't have deodorant yet, and she said that she smelt. She smelt really badly. It was distracting. She told the umpire that she needs to force her to wear deodorant. Got a lot of press. A lot of people were mad at Dart for calling out her stinky opponent, and her opponent made fun of herself after by posting some photo with a Dove like bottle or something like that. It was kind of lame, the response, but people thought it was cute. Nadal, I screenshotted this, a quote from him, and I can resonate. Not that I was ever like Nadal. Let's just be perfectly honest here, but I can still resonate. All right. Quote unquote. This is by Nadal. I've lost competitiveness, and that annoys me. I go play golf, and I'm not as focused. I don't understand playing without a goal. I've always considered myself a competitor, and fighting, I prefer that over winning easily. When you retire, your body takes a break. Interesting quote from Nadal. I don't really have any follow-up. I just thought it was interesting, and it's true. As you get older, I feel like that competitiveness or that fight, it starts to drift away a little bit. That being said, I still smash my rackets to shit when I'm on the court when I'm playing like shit. Musetti, aesthetically, I think one-handed backhand is better. Yep, don't disagree with that. But he says it is a serious disadvantage versus two-handers. I made that point on a pod. I put out actually a social media clip of it talking about the one-handed backhand, saying that it's beautiful, but it's just not as strong as a shot. And I basically was saying, especially on the return of serve, it's super tough with a one-handed backhand to be as competitive as a two-handed backhand. You just have to switch your grip. You don't have that strength with the left hand. And Musetti is basically reinforcing what I said. So I just wanted to mention that. That's it. That's it, everyone. Thank you for listening. Lots of good stuff to talk about there. Follow me, Chris Hasek-Watt on Instagram, Chris Hasek-Watt on X. Comment, like the pod. I went back to my old logo. I'm going old school. Went back to my old logo. Check it out. And thank you for listening. Much love. Take care. God bless. Happy belated Easter. Bye-bye.